Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. Adaora adjusted the strap of her maternity dress and grabbed her hospital file from the kitchen counter. 7 months pregnant, she was already running late for her prenatal checkup. She called out to David upstairs, but his silence wasn't new anymore. Lately he'd been too tired, too busy, too distracted. She let it slide again. Outside, the sun shimmered across the hood of her dusty Corolla. She climbed in, turned the key and exhaled. At least today she'd hear her baby's heartbeat again. As she drove through the morning traffic, Adaora hummed softly, hand on her belly. "You're still in there, right, little bean?" she whispered. The soft kick that followed made her smile. It was one of those small things that reminded her she wasn't alone. 30 minutes later, she was seated at the hospital waiting area when the nurse called her in. She reached into her bag for her phone. Gone. Her heart skipped. "Oh no," she muttered. She must have left it on the kitchen table. She needed that phone. Her student notes, class messages, even the bank OTPs were all in there. Without thinking twice, Adaora excused herself from the line and made her way back to the car. "I'll be back before my name comes up again," she told herself. She reached the house faster than usual. The front gate was ajar. That was strange. David was never careless with security. Maybe the cleaner came? But it was Thursday. Unlocking the front door with the spare key hidden under the flower pot, Adaora stepped into silence. The air was still. Too still. No radio playing, no clinking cups, no sound from the TV. Then, laughter. Muffled. Playful. Coming from the direction of the bedroom. She stood frozen in the hallway, every cell in her body going cold. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. Slowly she stepped forward, each footstep like a drumbeat. Her breathing became shallow and a rush of nausea gripped her. Her trembling hand reached for the bedroom door. Another giggle. A woman's voice. Adaora pushed the door open. There they were, David and Bianca. Tangled in the sheets of her bed. Laughing. Half naked. Oblivious. The room went still as their eyes met hers. David jolted upright. "Adaora?" Bianca didn't flinch. She tilted her head, letting the silk bedsheet fall just slightly off her shoulder. "Well," she said with a wicked smirk, "this is awkward." Adaora's bag slid from her hand and hit the floor. The only sound that followed was her own heart breaking. "David?" Adaora whispered, as though saying his name would make this a dream. He scrambled for his boxers, fumbling like a child caught stealing. "It's not what it looks like." Bianca yawned dramatically and rolled over. "Actually, it's exactly what it looks like." Adaora didn't respond. Her voice had vanished, stolen by the sight. The man she once prayed with before bed, now lay entangled with another woman, in their sheets. Her eyes fixated on the half-full wine glass on her bedside table. The pink nightgown Bianca wore was hers. Even the lit candle smelled like her favorite vanilla blend. David took a step forward. "Ada, please?" She stepped back. "You forgot your phone, didn't you?" Bianca asked casually, standing and pulling on her robe. "What a shame. Timing is everything." Adaora clutched her belly. The baby kicked again. Even her unborn child seemed disturbed by the chaos. "You were supposed to be at the hospital," David said, still panting as though that made his betrayal more reasonable. "And you were supposed to be my husband," Adaora replied quietly. The strength in her voice surprised even her. Bianca smirked, arms folded. "She was just leaving, right, David?" Adaora's eyes flicked to her husband. His mouth opened, then shut. He said nothing. And that silence said it all. Tears welled in Adaora's eyes but didn't fall. She walked backward slowly, bumping into the wall, then the doorframe. She didn't look back. She didn't say a word. She turned and left the house, the phone she'd come for now irrelevant. Outside, the sky had grown cloudier. Her vision blurred. Her legs weakened. She didn't even notice the neighbor until he rushed toward her. "Adaora!" Mr. Dyke shouted. "Are you okay?" She tried to speak. Instead, she collapsed. "She's not responding. Call someone." Mr. Dyke yelled. A crowd gathered, people shouting over one another. A kind woman brought water. Another covered Adaora with her scarf. Inside her head, everything spun. David's silence, Bianca's laughter, the baby's kicks. Her belly cramped sharply. An ambulance siren wailed in the distance, but all Adaora could hear was the ringing in her ears. By the time she opened her eyes again, she was on a stretcher. Inside the emergency room, voices barked orders. "Vitals dropping, she's dehydrated, And stressed, a nurse shouted. Dr. Bayo stormed in. That's my patient. Move. He checked her pupils, her belly, her pulse. We need fluids, now. Adaora blinked through tears. Doctor, my baby? You came just in time, he said gently. But what happened? She shook her head. I saw them. My husband. Another woman. In my bed. Dr. Bayo's face tightened. He squeezed her hand. Right now we focus on you and your baby. That man can wait. Hours passed before she stabilized. Dr. Bayo returned with test results. Good news, the baby is fine. But Adaora, your stress levels are dangerously high. You need rest. And peace. She nodded weakly. Just then the door creaked open. It was David. Holding flowers. Looking guilty. Adaora turned her face to the wall. He wasn't welcome here. Ada, please just hear me out, David said, stepping closer. Dr. Bayo raised a hand firm. She doesn't need this right now. I'm her husband. And I'm her doctor. Respect the boundary. David hesitated, then looked at Adaora. I made a mistake. I panicked. Bianca meant nothing. Stop. Her voice was hoarse but steady. You weren't even sorry, she said slowly. Not when I walked in. Not when she spoke for you. David's face twisted. I didn't mean. You meant every silence, she interrupted. Just then Mama Ada burst in, eyes fiery, her wrapper tightly tied. I heard everything. David's face paled. Mama, it's not what? She raised her hand. Don't lie to me. You broke the heart of a woman carrying your child. Mama? She pointed a finger. A child's cry will not cover the sound of a broken vow. You dishonored this family. You dishonored her. Silence settled like a heavy fog. David lowered his head. I'm sorry. Mama Ada scoffed. Sorry feeds no soul. She walked to Adaora and kissed her forehead. You'll come home with me. He's lost the right to have you by his side. Adaora finally let the tears fall. Quiet, exhausted, but healing. From that moment she knew. There would be no more apologies. Adaora sat on her mother's couch in the sitting room that still smelled of ginger tea and palm oil. Wrapped in a soft wrapper, she sipped slowly, her mind numb. Mama Ada sat beside her, peeling oranges. You've not eaten, Mama Ada said gently. I'm not hungry. You're pregnant, Adaora. That baby needs strength. She nodded but made no move. The door opened. It was Chuka, David's younger brother, carrying a basket of fruits. His face was a blend of anger and concern. I came as soon as I heard, he said. Ada, I'm so sorry. She looked at him and gave the slightest nod. Thank you. He sat carefully. I know it's not my place, but I warned him. I told David he'd destroy a diamond chasing cheap glass. Adaora's lips twitched. Almost a smile. Mama Ada stood. I'll make her something light. As she left, Chuka leaned forward. You don't deserve this. Not you. Adaora sighed. I don't even know who I married anymore. He's always been selfish. But this was unforgivable. I walked in, Chuka. I saw them. And he said nothing. Chuka clenched his fists. That man should be ashamed to even breathe near you again. Adaora reached into her handbag and pulled out a folded paper. It was her ultrasound photo. I thought this would be the happiest chapter of my life. He looked at the photo. Maybe it still can be. Just, with the right people beside you. She stared at him, surprised by his words. I brought those fruits for you, he added, rising. But also, if you need anything, I'm here. Thank you, she whispered. He smiled gently and left. As the door shut, Adaora exhaled deeply. The chapter with David might be closing. But her story wasn't over. David tossed his keys onto the console and walked in, hoping for peace. The moment the door closed, he noticed something was off. The scent of expensive perfume hung in the air. Then, heels clicking on the marble tiles. Bianca walked out in Adaora's silk robe, holding a wine glass. You're back. David blinked. What are you doing? She gestured to the corner. Suitcases. Bags. I moved in. David's eyes widened. You what? You said she's not coming back, Bianca shrugged. So I figured, why waste a perfectly good house? You didn't ask me. She sauntered over. Didn't think I needed to. Or have you forgotten how much you need me now that your wife has walked? David stared. This isn't what I want. She laughed sharply. Really? Because you weren't saying that when you were chasing me across your bed. He looked away. Bianca tilted her head. She's gone, David. You lost her. But you still have me. For now. He walked to the kitchen and poured water, trying to think. Adora's silence haunted him more than any shouting ever could. As Bianca scrolled through her phone like she owned the place, he realized something chilling. He may have lost more than a wife. He may have lost control of everything. A week later, Adoora stood at the gate of the house she once called home. She had come only to collect her things, but her heart raced anyway. Chuka had offered to come, but she refused. This was her fight. Bianca answered the door, dressed like she belonged. Well, look who crawled back. Adoora didn't flinch. I'm here for my belongings. Anything left has been donated. This is my house now. Adoora smiled faintly. You must be confused. Bianca crossed her arms. You left. He chose me. I'm still his wife. Still carrying his child. Bianca smirked. You think that means something to him? I know what it means to me. And legally, you're just a guest. Bianca stepped forward. David doesn't want you anymore. Yet here I am. And you're the one threatened by my presence. Bianca faltered just slightly. Adoora walked past her, entered the living room, and began gathering her clothes. Bianca followed, fuming. Touch anything that isn't yours. I have no interest in what you've touched, Adoora said coldly, including the man. As she zipped up the final suitcase, David walked in. He froze. Adoora? She didn't even look at him. She turned to Bianca. Tell him I stopped by. And with that, she wheeled her suitcase out. Not broken. Just done. Call him. Mama Ada snapped, her wrapper tied high on her chest as she moved about the living room. Adoora sat quietly on the couch, legs folded beneath her. Her pregnancy belly felt heavier today, not just from the baby, but from the burden of what she'd seen, endured, and now had to explain. David's father sat stiffly, arms crossed. I warned that boy when he married. Loyalty is not a game. Chuka leaned against the wall. He's on his way. The moment David stepped through the door, the atmosphere thickened. He looked tired, older. Good evening, sir, Ma. You call it evening? His father snapped. After what you've done? David looked at Adoora. She didn't look back. Mama Ada started, we raised our daughter with respect. With grace. And you dragged her through mud. I didn't mean. Don't lie, David's father growled. You were caught. David lowered his gaze. I made a terrible mistake. Mistake? Mama Ada shot up. You broke a covenant. That's not a mistake, it's betrayal. Chuka stepped forward. What's done is done. The real question is what happens now. David looked up. I want her back. Adoora turned slowly. Back. To what? To lies? To humiliation? I miss you. I miss us. I made a mistake. Bianca was. Don't, she cut him off. Don't bring her name near me. Silence filled the room. David's father sighed heavily. Adoora, what will you do now? She stood, graceful despite the heaviness in her body. I'll raise my child in peace. I'll find strength on my own. Mama Ada smiled proudly. Then Chuka, quietly from the corner, added, and if you need help, I'm here. David stiffened. Adoora looked at Chuka. Their eyes locked for just a second too long. Bianca watched from outside, unnoticed, her hands balled into fists. Bianca lounged on the veranda, flipping through her phone while sipping from a tall glass of wine. The air reeked of entitlement. Then knock knock. She rolled her eyes, sauntered to the gate, and opened it lazily. Her brows raised immediately. A dark-skinned woman stood there, slim, bold-eyed, holding a toddler on her hip. Can I help you? Bianca asked, irritated. I'm looking for David. Why? The woman raised a brow. Tell him Amanda stopped by. Bianca scoffed. Who? Ask him about Port Harcourt. December, 3 years ago. Bianca narrowed her eyes. Is this a joke? The toddler looked up, and Bianca's smirk dropped. He had David's eyes. Identical. Bianca stepped back. Wait. Amanda chuckled. So, he didn't tell you? That's funny. He told me he was single. Then vanished. Bianca's breath caught. Amanda handed over a sealed envelope. DNA results. Just in case he denies it. Bianca was speechless. Tell your boyfriend his past is knocking. Hard. With that, Amanda turned and walked off, her son bouncing on her hip. Bianca stood frozen. The cracks in David's perfect act had just begun to shatter. Adoora laid on the examination table, the cold gel smeared across her belly. The monitor hummed. Dr. Bayo smiled. Strong heartbeat. That's one resilient baby. Adaora chuckled softly. Takes after her mother. He looked at her. You've been through so much, yet here you are, glowing. I don't feel it, she confessed. Some days I feel broken. Then she kicks and I remember, I'm building something better. Dr. Bayo nodded. But you also need to protect your peace. Your baby feels everything you feel. She nodded solemnly. He handed her a printed scan. You're doing great, Adaora. But remember, peace is not a luxury for you, it's medicine. She left the hospital feeling lighter. But her peace didn't last long. Back home, she received a call from an unknown number. Hello? Adaora, it's Bianca. Adaora nearly ended the call, but curiosity made her pause. What do you want? Bianca's voice trembled slightly. You were right. He's a liar. And not just to you. Adaora froze. He has a child, with someone else. A woman just showed up. A boy that looks like him. And the DNA proves it. Adaora said nothing. Bianca continued, he's not just a cheater. He's a coward. And he's in deep debt too. What are you saying? Bianca laughed bitterly. I thought I won. But I only inherited your problems. Adaora ended the call. She looked down at her belly and whispered, Thank you, God, for pulling me out in time. Bianca sat on the edge of the bed, arms folded tightly across her chest, watching David pace the room. You didn't tell me, she said, voice low. David blinked. Tell you what? She threw the DNA envelope at him. That you had a son. He picked it up and sighed. It was a mistake. A fling. She said she was on the pill. Bianca scoffed. Mistake. Like I was? Like Adaora was? David dropped the envelope and rubbed his forehead. What do you want from me, Bianca? The truth, she snapped. You told me she was boring, that you were miserable, that I was different. You were exciting, he said. You are. But now, things are complicated. She stared at him. You're broke, your wife left you, and now your past is literally at the gate. Complicated doesn't even begin to describe it. David walked to the fridge and pulled out a drink. I'll figure it out. Bianca stood. That's what Adaora said. That how you get a man is how you lose him. I should have listened. He turned. What are you saying? She walked past him. I'm saying, I'm not stupid. And I'm not sticking around waiting to be replaced. David grabbed her arm. Don't walk away now. She pulled free. You did. That night, David sat alone, staring at the envelope, the walls closing in. For the first time he realized, Bianca didn't love him. And maybe, no one did anymore. Adaora unlocked the rusted gate to her late uncle's compound. It wasn't luxurious, but it was hers now. She stepped in, shoes crunching against gravel, as a sense of quiet filled the space. Freedom. Chuka arrived later with paint buckets, nails, and a cheerful grin. Welcome home, he said. She smiled. It needs work. He shrugged. So do most good things. Together they swept, dusted, painted. Laughed. Rested. Each evening he'd bring food. Talk about music, movies, politics. Anything but David. But one night Adaora broke the silence. Why are you really helping me, Chuka? He looked up from fixing the curtain rod. Because you deserve help without conditions. She said nothing. But that night she slept deeper than she had in weeks. Elsewhere David sat in his office, cold, alone. He opened his banking app and froze. His business account, frozen. He called his banker. Mr. David, we've received legal claims from 2 parties over unpaid loans. What? Also, your wife has requested separation of assets. Ex-wife, he muttered. The banker paused. Not yet, sir. He hung up. Pacing, he reached for his wallet, but it was gone. Then his phone buzzed. A message from Bianca. Don't worry. The car's in good hands. I took what I deserved. David sank to the floor, breathing hard. Everything he thought he controlled had slipped away. It started with a sharp jolt. Adaora grabbed the table edge, steadying herself. The pain passed but returned, stronger. She looked at the wall clock. 1:43 a.m. No, it's early, she whispered, panicking. She wasn't due for another 3 weeks. She dialed Chuka. No answer. The pain hit again. She clutched her belly and made her way to the car. The keys shook in her hand. The contractions came faster. She drove through the quiet streets, headlights cutting through the night, praying with each breath. God help me. Please. Just as she turned into the hospital compound, she felt liquid rush beneath her. Then headlights flashed behind her. A horn. Chuka. He jumped out, rushed to her and opened the door. You drove yourself? I had no choice. He carried her into the hospital, shouting for help. Inside, nurses swarmed. Dr. Bayo appeared, eyes wide. Edaora? Already? She's in pain, Chuka said. Do something. Dr. Bayo nodded. We'll do everything. Edaora looked at Chuka, sweat dripping. If anything happens. Don't say that, he whispered, holding her hand tight. You're strong. You'll meet your daughter tonight. She let out a scream as the contraction doubled. And through the pain, she found power. A different kind of strength. The kind that comes from surviving the worst and choosing to fight anyway. The wail filled the room like a hymn. Edaora, drenched in sweat, gasped in relief as the nurse raised the baby. It's a girl, the nurse announced joyfully. Dr. Bayo smiled behind his mask. And a strong one too. The baby was placed in Edaora's arms, tiny, warm, alive. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She's perfect, Edaora whispered. She's mine. Chuka stood nearby, tears in his eyes. She looks like you. Edaora smiled faintly. She looks like peace. Dr. Bayo patted her shoulder. You did that. Alone. No one gave you strength. You found it. As the staff left to give her rest, Chuka pulled up a chair beside her bed. What's her name? He asked softly. Edaora looked down at the bundle, eyes wide open already. Ziora. It means show the world. Because that's exactly what she'll do. Chuka grinned. She already has. There was a knock on the door. A nurse peeked in. There's a man asking to see you. Says he's the father. Edaora's face hardened. Tell him I'm resting. The nurse hesitated. Tell him that's all he'll ever be, the father. Nothing more. The door shut again. Edaora leaned her head back, rocking her daughter. I will never beg for love again. And from that moment on she wouldn't. It was supposed to be a simple dedication party, for a cousin's new baby. David showed up in a crisp kaftan, hoping to save face. Bianca clung to his arm, dressed like she was auditioning for a reality show. The hall was filled with family, friends, and whispers. Then came the mic. The MC welcomed everyone, but before the music resumed, an unfamiliar woman raised her hand. I have something to say. All eyes turned. It was Amanda, the woman from the gate, holding her son. David, she said, voice clear, you remember me, don't you? Gasps rippled across the room. Bianca shrank back. Amanda held up a folder. DNA confirms it. This child is yours. You denied him. Abandoned him. But today you will be seen. The crowd stirred. David stammered. This isn't the place. No, Amanda said. This is exactly the place. She handed the mic to the MC. And then, David's father stood. Enough shame. From this day I disown you. You're not the man I raised. David's jaw dropped. Baba. Don't call me that, the old man said, walking away. David stood frozen, 1,000 eyes on him, each one like fire. He had wanted attention. Now he couldn't escape it. Bianca stormed into the house, heels clacking on the tiles, furious. She opened the fridge, empty. Grabbed her phone, no signal. The electricity had just been disconnected. No. No. She sat on the couch, breathing hard. Then her phone buzzed. A message, you've been tagged in 17 posts. Her heart dropped. Online her name trended for all the wrong reasons. Screenshots. Receipts. Private messages with rich men. Leaked audio recordings of her insulting Edaora, mocking marriage, calling herself a professional upgrade. One post had gone viral, the woman who thought she won, until the world saw who she really was. She screamed, flinging her phone across the room. She called David. No answer. She tried again. Voicemail. She checked her bank app. Balance, 3,412 Nigerian nairas. She stared in disbelief. Where's my money? Then another message appeared. Your card has been declined. Your account is under review. Bianca clutched her chest, breath shallow. Alone. Exposed. And very broke. She ran to the window just in time to see the repo team towing away the car. No, she screamed, running barefoot outside. But it was done. The car was gone. So was the spotlight. She had danced on Edaora's pain. Now she was choking on her own. The compound gate clanked open. Edaora stood in the kitchen, rocking baby Ziora as Chuka set down groceries. A soft knock followed. Chuka peeked through the curtain. It's him. Edaora's jaw tightened. Let him in. But only into the hallway. Chuka opened the door and stepped aside. David entered, face sunken, clothes wrinkled. He paused when he saw the baby in her arms. She's Beautiful, he whispered. Adaora held her daughter tighter. I just wanted to see her, he added, voice low. I don't expect anything. Adaora nodded slowly. Good. Because you won't get anything. He looked down. I've lost everything. I know. I made a mistake. You made choices, she said firmly. Don't call them mistakes. David stepped forward slightly. Can I just hold her? Adaora's eyes snapped up. This is where your rights end. At the door. David froze. But she's my daughter. And I will never deny you that. But parenting is earned. You lost the privilege of presence the moment you traded trust for lust. Chuka watched from the shadows, saying nothing. David looked at him, then back at Adaora. So, this is it? She nodded. This is goodbye. He stared a moment longer, then turned and walked out the way he came. Chuka stepped in and closed the door. Adaora didn't cry. She never would for him again. Later that evening, the house was quiet. Ziora slept peacefully beside Adaora, wrapped in a soft lilac blanket. Chuka sat across from her, his palms sweaty. He had helped repaint her house, install her shelves, drive her to the market, but this was harder than all of that. I've been meaning to say something, he began. Adaora looked up. What is it? He shifted in his seat. You've been through so much, and you carried it with such grace. Watching you, learning your strength, changed me. Chuka. No, let me say this, he said gently. I'm not saying you need anyone. You've proven you can walk through fire alone. But, if you ever choose to walk with someone again, I'd like to be that someone. Adaora was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. Thank you, she said softly. For seeing me, not as broken, not as baggage, but as whole. He looked down, blushing. I'm not ready, she said. I'll wait. She chuckled. I didn't ask you to. I know, he said. But I will anyway. There was something comforting in his words. Not pressure. Not pity. Just presence. And that, more than anything, was love. A month later, Adaora sat at her small desk with Ziora in a sling across her chest, typing away. The screen read, The Resilient Mother, blog post draft. Her article titled, What I Saw When I Forgot My Phone, had gone viral. Women from across Nigeria, and even abroad, had reached out. Some cried. Some raged. Many said, Thank you for saying what we couldn't. She replied to each one. Her inbox overflowed with messages. A local women's organization invited her to speak. She declined the first invitation, but not the second. Dr. Bayo subscribed to her blog. Your voice is stronger than any medicine, he wrote. Adaora smiled at that. Chuka helped her set up a small studio in the spare room. She began recording her voice, gentle, firm, sharing stories, healing wounds, building a quiet online army of survivors. Ziora gurgled. Are you proud of mommy already? Adaora cooed. Her baby smiled. The camera blinked on. And just like that, Adaora didn't just rise. She lifted others with her. The garden party was vibrant. Music, laughter, and beautiful African prints under fairy lights. David spotted her across the courtyard. She wore a soft yellow gown, glowing from the inside out. Her locks were pulled back neatly, and baby Ziora sat cradled in her arm. Chuka stood beside her, handing her juice, whispering something that made her laugh. David froze. Someone tapped his shoulder. That your wife? He swallowed. Was. Wow, the person muttered. She doesn't look like someone you let go. She's not, David replied, barely audible. She's the one who walked away. Across the lawn, Adaora's eyes briefly met his. She gave him a small nod. Not of love. Not of longing. But of closure. Then she turned, kissed her daughter's forehead, and continued smiling as the music played. David stood still, surrounded by people, but completely alone. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.